Welcome everyone to this month's Q&A with Jon and I from the Kanka team.
Yeah, welcome everyone. I guess those of you that are already here are probably our usual suspects. We are slightly sorry for the worse quality than usual when it comes to the stream. We're not physically with each other. Jay has decided to abandon me temporarily. So sadly,
I ran away from the cold weather.
As good as usual. Yeah, exactly. Couldn't take the cold weather. So yeah, welcome everyone. Actually, just before we fully get started, I was hoping to have your guys' input on what you wanted us to do a deep dive on. As you know, last time around, we took 10 minutes to take a deep dive into a topic, and we just kind of wanted to know what you guys wanted us to talk about this time around. So over the course of the stream, feel free to give us your input on what you guys want to hear about. And on that note,
I've asked in the Twitch and YouTube if the audio is good, just waiting for confirmation since this is a new setup.
Yep. Let me just check. My tests are saying that it's okay. But I think, yeah. So yeah, I think we might just dive in, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll do the usual format where I'm going to ask questions, and yeah, we're sorry about the video. Jay didn't take into account his internet when finding a place.
Well, this is the fastest internet I could find where I am right now, which is in Turkey. Which is why next time Jon will host from your 10 gigabyte internet, and then everything should be a lot better. But for this time, realized too late that the setup was not adequate, which is why it is what it is for this time, and next time it will be better.
Yeah. So yeah, we're sorry about the video quality. At least the audio is working. Ultimately, that's the most important part. So yeah, let's start immediately with our first question, which was from Klaus, which is, what system were you surprised to see someone use with a Canker? Obscure, old, or less world-building focused? Jay, I'll let you take the lead on this one.
3 cases came to mind. I don't really know what systems people use Canker with. There are some stats in the database, but I don't know enough about systems to know what's going on there. But I know some people use Canker in film school to organize their characters, their scenes, their story, their plot, to film like stories, which is cool. Another which I think is cool is people who use play by post, where they'll just, instead of having campaign over Discord or Skype or Zoom or whatever, they'll just have it on Kanka as a forum and as a platform. I think that's pretty neat. And there was one last example which I wrote down for LARPing events, which is also pretty neat because I do quite a bit of LARP, and knowing people in Spain using it, in Germany using it to organize their LARP, live action roleplay events and stories. That's really cool. And that's all I have to say about that question.
I don't know that I personally have any examples. I always come back to, but it's not really technically a system, but the person who used Canker to make an adventure book style thing. I still think, as far as I'm concerned, that's possibly one of the most creative ways I've seen someone use Canker. It's just quite different to usual, to the standard that we've seen. I personally always come back to that example because that always sticks with me. I always forget the name of the campaign, but I know that I think it's Archonic. So Chaos always refreshes my memory on who it is. But yeah, so I think that covers question round 1 quite roundly.
I'm just checking on Twitch because we switched to the new Twitch, and I'm not sure if it's working.
I can see it working, I think.
Okay, it's just my laptop being way too slow. Yeah, okay, I see it now. Great.
Yeah. Once again, I apologize about the setup and the fact that we're clearly struggling with a quality stream. We'll try and next time around, I will be hosting. It should make things a lot easier. I guess, yeah. Sorry about that. But yeah, moving on to the next question, which was about the marketplace. So specifically, as the marketplace grows, more and more people will have issues with specific plugins. How are you going to manage the influx of questions not related to Canker? And will there be a contact developer of plugin button? So I think there's this aspect of community in Canker which really distinguishes us from other websites and other systems. And I think we do want to encourage creators, and we do want to encourage people to, whether for now it's just simply CSS, but with a bit of time include content packs and themes. And we do want people to encourage people to do that, but we also want to keep in mind that they do this out of the goodness of their heart and of their passion. So it's about finding, as far as I'm concerned, it's about finding that right balance between making sure that these individuals have their privacy and aren't contacted on a daily basis because of issues that arise from what they've done, while at the same time ensuring that the community can access something that works and that is well-rounded. I don't know if Jay wants to add something to that. Well, I'm sure he does. Let's put it that way.
Yes, sorry, I wasn't, I just wrote something to not forget for later in the stream. One thing we want to do is add a creator page where a creator could list all of their plugins and also fill in a bio with a contact, how to contact the creator over Discord or whatever, and then the creator can choose their own system, how they want people to contact them in case they have an issue. And another thing is later when maybe Kanker's grown, where it's no longer every couple of weeks a release, but more like one big release a month, have a more compatible versions system where you could tag your Canker plugin if it's compatible with the latest release. That kind of system, and kind of ask the plugin developers to check a small flag, this version works with the latest release of Canker.
Yeah, Jay, I'm actually going to make a small request from you, is close literally everything that isn't the live stream. So I know you've closed Discord, close any browser tabs that have YouTube or Twitch on it, and we'll see if that helps at all.
All closed.
Okay.
My laptop is at 200% CPU right now. It's OBS and capturing the video from Zoom. It's not made.
Fair enough.
And I'm scared to touch any other button now that it suddenly breaks, because I spent a lot of time placing the Zoom overview.
No worries at all. No worries. Okay, well, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add about the marketplace and contacting creators. We spoke, as I say, about, as Jay said, about creating a bio for our creators and a contact form within Canker, of course. And hopefully that will help solve most issues and allow creators also to take the necessary distance if they don't want to be too heavily involved.
Mm-hmm. Before we go on to the next question, sorry, phone going crazy. What I was writing down is I wanted to thank Griffin from our amazing community for creating this new layout and overlay for our stream. We mentioned in the last stream, I think that someone commented that it wasn't great, and Griffin then came to us, had talked with him, and he created this amazing layout. So thank you a lot to Griffin. I know the text to read the questions isn't great. That's a mistake on my part, and that will be also fixed for the next release. We'll just make it white or black and without a border to make the questions appear on screen better. That was a small...
But we're very grateful for for the new layout. It looks absolutely beautiful. I absolutely love it. I'm very happy. Like, we keep going back to this, and we've definitely said this on several occasions, but our community is really what amazes Jay and I about Canker and what we like the most about Canker. And this is just yet another example of the community helping to make Canker better and to just improve this for everyone. And we're very, very grateful for that. So thank you again, Griffin.
Next question is some sarcastic prose, which asks, do you sorry, you go.
Yeah, sorry, I'm going to read this one, but I'm also going to answer it because this is a lot of what I do. It's about whether we have plans to promote Kanka, because he or she, I'm not sure, doesn't feel like there's much promotion, and it mostly grows through word of mouth right now. We do promote Kanka a decent amount. I think if I throw a few numbers at you, about 25% of our monthly revenue goes into advertising, and about 30% of new accounts created every month are created through advertising. So there's definitely something there, and we're definitely, like growing it through marketing. But I think what's important to keep in mind is that it's starting from a very, very small base. So as much as 25% of our revenue might seem like a lot, our revenue's not particularly high. So it's very targeted. It's unlikely that you will see ads for Canker if you already use Canker, because we prioritize conversions, which we calculate as the creation of an account. So if you already have an account within Canker, you're not really part of the target audience, and therefore it's unlikely you'll see ads. We also focus pretty much solely at the moment on Google search ads. So we tried various other outlets. We went, initially we started off with Facebook. We tried a bit on Reddit. I dabbled in Twitter as well. And I definitely found that given our small budget, Google was probably what was most efficient and gave us the best value for our money. And so we've been sticking with that. But we advertise fairly heavily. Both we sort of separate the world into two categories, which we call our core markets, which tend to be Europe, North America, Australia, New Zealand, roughly speaking. And then we have our more periphery markets, which will be countries where we're fairly popular in. So typically, we'll talk about this a bit later because it joins another question, but we're quite popular in certain other countries like Brazil. And so Brazil will be part of what we would call our periphery markets. And we are quite active there as well. Of course, the core is what takes most of it. So I'd say most of our ads go Europe and North America. But as I say, if you already are a member of Canker, given our limited budget, it seems unlikely that you would ever encounter our advertising because we just gear it towards complete noobs, Canker noobs, that is. So yeah, the budget keeps growing as our revenue grows. Every month or two, I pester Jay for higher budget for marketing. And we generally agree that it definitely adds. It has a lot of added value. I don't think Canker would be able to grow the way it has if we did absolutely zero marketing. But yeah, it's all about, at the end of the day, it's all about how much you can spend, right? I don't know if Jay wants to add anything in particular about this, but he's basically kept aware of what's going on by my updates. But
yeah, you just mentioned you don't think we'd grow as much as we have without ads, and I think we can say we wouldn't grow as much because we can see clearly through. We can clearly see as the budget grows for marketing, that more people come in and convert to paying users or subscription users. So we definitely see that there is correlation there.
For sure. We've seen a slow but steady growth of the number of accounts created, both via marketing and in general. And yes, it would, going back to the initial point of word of mouth, there's of course a large component of word of mouth, that's a given. That's inevitable, I want to say. and that's part of the game. But the marketing aspect is growing and is taking on a bigger and bigger proportion of accounts created. I think that's also fair to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, that covers that question. Shall we move on to the next question, Jay?
Yeah, it's already displayed on the screen.
Oh, sorry.
No
What's
worries.
the coolest Kanker? Because there's a delay and Jay and I aren't next to each other, when he presses next question, I don't actually see it immediately. So I'm never sure if he's pressed next or not, because there's about a 30-second delay between what we say and what comes up on YouTube. So yeah, what is the coolest Kanker stat that you can share with us? And I think this is one of those cases where Jay and I had slightly different answers. So I'll let Jay start and then I'll share my thoughts.
Yeah. For me, which is cool, is well, firstly, at the end of the month, we'll have the 3-year stat review. Every 6 months, I do a deep dive in stats on Canker. So I'll do it as a live stream this time also, and as an article. So you have the nice stats and also talk about some of the stats more in depth and how those are cool or worrying. Hopefully, nothing worrying. But what's great is we're just about to hit 47,000 accounts created. At the beginning of the year, we were at 20,000? 25? Yeah, so
I wouldn't be able to tell you off the top of my head.
Yeah, I forgot. I have these numbers ready for the next live stream. That's really cool. Nearly 50,000 accounts created. That's crazy. The other one is this, yeah, I've mentioned this in Discord. There's a campaign with 280 users in it. I don't know how that works. I don't know how I've managed to build Canker in a way where that physically and visually works, but it's been used. And
Yeah.
that blows my mind.
280 users in one campaign is absolutely massive.
Yeah, the second biggest one is also over 50. Like it's big West March kind of campaigns, and they're just massive, and yeah, it blows my mind, because when I build the various interfaces, I think there'll be maybe 10 to 20 users in a campaign for someone doing several campaigns in the same world, but I don't think of the interfaces for 200 people in a campaign, but that it works for a group of people, that's blows my mind.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to have 280 people. I don't like taking a second to digress here. I don't even know how you organize your sessions with 280 people.
From the West March campaigns, there'll usually be several dungeon masters all running a campaign in parallel, and they'll say Thursday 7 slots, 7 player slots. Who joins in first come first serve, and that's how they've kind of split up who's playing with which dungeon master in this grand story or the campaign. That's the way I understood it. Yeah, you had other stats you were excited to share?
Yeah, so for me, the coolest stats, I don't know if it's like one stat on its own, but it's a series of stats. Well, it's a one big thing on its own and then sort of broken down. But basically, to keep it simple, I'm always stunned by how international Canker is. So I'm not going to bore you with a breakdown by every single country, but if we're talking about roughly by region, you have about 40% of our users that are based in North America, about 35% of our users who are based in Europe, about 12% are based in Latin America. Well, I include Brazil in that, and admittedly Brazil is the large portion of that. About 3% in Oceania, which is, for our purposes, mostly Australia and New Zealand. And then about 10% from just other places in the world, which, it go from India to South Africa, to Russia, of course. We have some users in China. And I mean, there's probably a certain amount of that's due to VPNs. But by and large, I'm always surprised at just quite how diverse our users are. And that personally always, it makes me smile in a way. I think to me, that's one of the more interesting stats, if only because it's not necessarily something we would have expected. And for the numbers, like, because I mean, we're based in Switzerland, and this started off, I guess, well, everything was done in Switzerland initially, and Switzerland really isn't even remotely close to one of our major markets, which I guess makes sense because tabletop RPGs aren't the most popular over here. But it was still, I find it nice to see just how, there are surprises. There are surprises in which countries individually are quite popular. And just in general, I find it surprising in the best possible way that Latin America seems to like Canker quite as much as they do. So that was for me the stats I enjoyed personally.
I think Switzerland was in the top 10 in the first 3 months because it's mostly friends of mine joining to check it out and my players. That was enough to bump Switzerland in the top 10. But yeah, it hasn't been in the top 10 in a very long time.
Yeah. So that was for the stats.
Yeah.
Coolest Kanka stat. Well, I mean, coolest is always subjective. But yeah, anyway, next question. So next question comes from Guardian, and he's asking about what the most interesting or creative use of a module that we've seen in a campaign. And he gives as an example using timelines to write session recaps with eras serving as story arcs, or Arc Onyx using nested abilities to represent character classes. Long story short, I think both of those examples are possibly some of the best examples of niche and cool different uses of the way you can use Canker. I'm sure Jay has more to expand on this.
I've sadly closed all my browser tabs, so I don't have access to what I prepared. Can you just?
Yeah. Well, what we prepared is that it's already, those two examples are already some of the more interesting ones. I will say that we don't necessarily keep track of all uses, so it's important to keep in mind that there are 47,000 accounts created. Not of course, not all of them are super active or anything, but it would be very difficult for us to keep track of everything and to look at everything. And
it's not in our interest, right?
No, of course not. It's also everyone uses it the way they can. So most of what we do know for cool uses and different uses of modules is what you guys share with us on Discord mostly. So I think Guardian's example and Arc Onyx's use of nested abilities are probably, as far as we're aware, some of the most interesting or creative uses of modules.
Yeah.
So
sadly, no deeper answer. We get to know about how people use Canker by them sharing it on the Discord. Yeah. So that's our primary way we discover people using Canker differently than maybe what we had envisioned. But yeah, going on to the next question.
So moving on to the next question, which is from Unique DM. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time Unique DM asks a question. So good for you, Unique DM. And he asks he or she, I never know the gender, I'm afraid. What the most interesting feature that we ever thought of is, and it could be impossible to implement, or one that we're planning on added, or one that's already been added. And I think both Jay and I agree wholeheartedly on what the most interesting feature is. And I think we both agree on the marketplace. And I'll let Jay expand on that.
Yeah, so the marketplace is something I've talked on and off with our Elementals subscribers for over a year, as a concept of people to create cool things and to share them between campaigns, and to allow creative people who can do CSS or create stories or create attributes like character stat pages, to be able to create those and share them with others. And we had the vote, the first vote to do it we had a community vote. Sorry, we had it as an option on a community vote during the summer and didn't really explain it because we were both really excited to start working on it, where we rushed and didn't properly explain what it was. And then I ended doing themes last month and launching that, and it's just amazing seeing people improve Canker. Ultimately, it's people improving Canker and allowing other people with less technical know-how on how to style a page, etc., to customize Canker to the theme of their campaign, or to add features or change the visuals where it fits more their universe, because Kanka is very it's not pushed or set on a specific style like D&D medieval Europe. I tried always to keep it a bit more boring, but so it's adaptable for everything. And with themes, we can allow our users to create a theme for cyberpunk or for Vampire the Masquerade and share this among the community, and just improve everyone's Kanka experience through that. And what we have planned for later with content packs, where people can create a list of NPCs or interesting locations, or 500 ways to combine herbs to create potions, whatever, where people could create these content packs and then be imported into campaigns. Or later, like I said, attributes like stat pages for characters to have them visually like when you're playing Pathfinder or Star Wars RPG, and just giving more options to Kanka users. And that's really exciting and interesting.
The marketplace is really what sets us up. Well, what we think will be able to set us apart over time, and it's really. We always see. I mean, community driven is something I think we mention about 50 times every time we talk about Kanka. There's nothing quite like. I mean, it's difficult to describe Kanka in any other terms, right? Because you guys are such an integral through voting on features, and we do aim to ensure that everything is sort of tested by the community, is approved by the community, and we evolve modules based on what the community feedback is. And so the marketplace, we really feel is sort of, I mean, it's clearly not the end, but it's a good addition to that. It's a good it's a good next step where we can get everyone involved and make sure that everyone can share their thoughts, their creativity, and be able to express themselves that way. So I think that's it for that one. So yes, marketplace in a nutshell. The next question is from Charalampos. I don't want to murder his name any more than that, but he's asking about whether we have plans to engage the community with additional competitions, such as the food world building prompt that we had recently. In a nutshell, the answer to that question is yes. Yes, we do want to engage the community further. I think both Jay and I liked the idea of the food world building prompt, but I don't think it was quite as well received by you guys. A lot of people felt like it wasn't necessarily relevant, or like it wasn't for them. So I think what we've taken away from that, first of all, once again, congratulations, Guardian, on your entry that won. But what we took away from that is that, first of all, we want to get the community engaged more when it comes to deciding what the next topic is going to be. So we do plan on having the next community event. We are going to, in the next couple of weeks, try and collate answers from you guys as to what kind of topic you feel is most appropriate and what kind of topic you would like to see. And then we'll go from there. And I think we can also announce tonight that Guardian will be judging with us on who the winner of the next competition is, and that will be thanks to his recent win, which will disqualify him from winning, I'm afraid, Guardian. If you want to, we will give you the option to opt out if you really want to participate, but we felt like it would be another nice little way to reward you, to allow you to judge with us what the best entry will be.
Yep.
So yeah, I think I just took that question myself.
Yeah, I didn't have anything to add.
So yeah, in a nutshell, yes, we do intend on having new ones. The community will be more involved in choosing the topics so that more people actually participate. And Guardian, you will help us decide on who the winner is. Shall we move on to the next question?
Yeah, I've already displayed it.
What are your favorite house rules? Do you keep them in Canker as notes, and are they consistent between campaigns or games? I'll let Jay take this one.
Yeah, I don't have many house rules because I play 5th edition, D&D 5th edition exclusively now. I just do at high levels that when you do a crit, it's just max damage. You take all your dice time. Yeah, you just max damage instead of rolling, because if someone is rolling 10 d6s plus 3 d8s or whatever, it just speeds up the process to say it's max damage. That's probably my most consistent. I started doing it around level 10 in a campaign, so I only have one campaign at that level at the moment. Otherwise, which was mentioned in the DM Prep Discord channel last week or this week, Good Berries, which is a spell which allows you to create a ranger or something to create 10 berries which fill you up and give you the nutrients of having eaten a full meal. If my players can use that, but if they use it day and day and day in and out, they will have stomach problems after a few days. Because, yeah, it fills you up, but it's still a magical berry which is going through intestinal tract. So those are my two. And no PvP between players, that's just a personal preference. I don't keep them as notes in Canker. Just I've been playing with these rules since several years, and they're stuck in my head. And most of my players, if I have new players, I'll just tell them from the get-go, these are the few rules. Usually it's only max damage and no PvP. And yeah, that's it.
Nice. The lack of PvP is a deal breaker for me. I'm joking, of course. So yeah, if we keep plowing on, I'd just like to reiterate that if you guys want to suggest any topics for the deep dive at the end, feel free to do so in chat, and we'll try and address that. But otherwise, yeah, let's keep moving on to a question by Beef Potato, which is asking that if we could rebuild one part of Kanka from the ground up with no time constraints, what would you choose, and why is it calendars? So yes, why is it calendars? That's a very good question, Jay.
So it's not calendars, even though that's not something, if I could, I would. That's something, if I have to, I will. If the number of new features it keeps adding will mean it gets rebuilt. No, if I had no time constraints, I would just redo the database layer, the way entities are built in the system. There's just a lot of the way it's built, the database, it's not practical for large-scale campaigns and caching data. And that comes also to my second thing, which I'd rebuilt, is the permissions engine. It's already on version 3. I'd probably redo the permissions, how they're stored in the database, how they work in programming, in the programming part, just to be able to cache them and to start doing things that people have been asking for a while, like listing organizations by number of sub-organizations, or listing organizations by number of characters in those organizations, where it has to take into account permissions for all the sub-organizations and then for all the characters in those sub-organizations, and calculating that to order the list. I just can't do with the way Kanka is built at the moment, because permissions are checked in the code and not in the database. So I can't switch it around. And I don't know if there's a solution for that, but it's something which, if you told me, oh, there's no community road for 3 months, what do you want to do? Redo, it'd be that. If I had 3 months with no constraints or whatever, I just add more features to the marketplace. The way entities are stored and permissions, how they work in the code, just to make them more to improve performances for big campaigns or for as we have more users. That's one of the big things why we changed servers in June. We used to be on a single server, now we're on 4 servers, just because during the weekends it crashed because so many permissions being loaded on every page, and the servers couldn't handle the amount of data which had to be calculated for each page load to see what elements am I allowed to see or not. For DMs, for admins in the campaign, no problem, because it just loads everything and skips permissions entirely. But as soon as you were a user, the old server had big issues, and I did a lot of work to improve that already then. Lots of improvements, and switching to 4 servers helped a lot, and we're probably good for a bit more than a year now, for another year, and then I'll have to start figuring out something new. Yeah. Next question.
Good. So next question is less to do with Canker and more to do with us, but it comes from Guardian, who asks that if we were sucked into a transdimensional portal and flung into the Forgotten Realms, what class would you turn into? And unsurprisingly, Jay and I have different answers when it comes to this. Jay, do you want to start?
Yes, of course I'd be a barbarian because I spend every day in the gym. No, I'd be a bard if I was, set somewhere else, because I used to play many instruments or sing in several bands when I was younger. Just music during my 20s was a big part of my life. Teens and 20s was a big part of my life, and what I imagined doing as a profession now, I obviously didn't pan out. But yeah, I'd be a bard, toddling around the world, writing and singing songs about stupid adventurers who are all orphans and take terrible decisions.
Which would be a great choice. Actually, having heard Jay play the guitar amongst other instruments, I have to say, I played a lot of guitar as well, but I'm nowhere near as good. I'm always impressed by his abilities. And yeah, for me, the answer was also similar to Jay, something close to my heart. I would have to be a ranger. Archery has been a very big part of my life. I do love to shoot with bows and arrows. And I feel like if I was parachuted into a universe, I would want that to be part of who I am, and evolve around that. It's sadly not really possible for me to just go around shooting things in real life without getting arrested, and I don't really want that. So, yeah, I think I would probably choose to be a ranger, and yeah. So that was a bit of a side question into the minds of Jon and Jay, but a fun one, yeah, for sure. Next question comes from Beef Potato again.
I have it in the wrong order.
No, from Ornstein, sorry.
Yeah.
No, I'm the one. I'm the one who's not seeing right. Asking, how many campaigns owned by one person would you say is too many?
So this was a troll question, but
no such thing.
There's no limitation on Kanker's side. The only limitation is the interface, and once you have more than 10 campaigns, when the campaign switcher, the interface would get painful to use, because it adds them in the order of the campaign ID, I think. So the oldest campaigns would be at the top. So if you'd had 10 or more, if you're trying to find your most recent campaigns, they'd be at the bottom of the list, and you'd be scrolling through the whole page. And yeah, 10 sounds like a big number already. But so does 20 players in a campaign, and
so does 218 players in a campaign.
Yeah. Anything to add on that? Otherwise, I'll show the next question.
No, I think we're pretty much good with that. And the next one comes also from Beef Potato, who asks how we first got into RPGs and what were the first characters you played, what the first campaigns you GM'd. Jay, I'll let you start off with this one.
Yeah. So I played my first session of D&D probably 3.5 back when I was 16 or 18. I had friends who were playing a regular game, and they invited me to join for a session. And I was playing a cleric, and it was miserable because I was level 1 and the others were level 3, and I just got knocked out in the first fight. So after 40 minutes, I was like, well, guess I'll go and play on the drums for the next 3 hours while you try and play D&D. So that was my first experience. And then a few years, I'm suddenly having flashbacks. When I thought about this question before. I forgot about this. But then when I was 20, I had a role-playing... I did 24 hours of role-play with some friends. And it's all in French. There was a system called Les Tigres Volants, which is like sci-fi, and that's about as many details as I can remember. And then forgot completely about role-playing games. And then with my with friends and my ex-wife, we wanted to play role-playing games, board games. So we bought The Legends of Andor, which is a German RPG, but it's really a puzzle. And we were like, the game was okay, but there was no role-play aspect. So then I was like, well, should I just be a dungeon master? I've heard Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition exists. And they were like, sure, let's try. And then started out with the starter sets. Made many mistakes, as many first-time DMs do. And just, that was 6 years ago, and been playing nearly every week since. The first character I played, that would have been, that cleric. But like in a campaign, the first character I played several times was a bard, funnily enough, in an online game with some Dutch and Danish players. I found a group, and we did that over Discord a long time ago, and I did like 4 or 5 sessions.
Nice. Yeah. As for me, I mean, I've always been open about the fact that I don't actually GM at all, so that part I'm afraid I can't answer, because the first campaign I've GM'd hasn't happened yet. As for RPGs, I think my first foray into them was through board games, for sure. Like collaborative board games. It was with a friend of mine from school, actually. This brings me back a while. I cannot for the life of me remember what the first character I played was. Though knowing myself, it must have been something along the likes of a ranger or rogue. That tends to be what I like to do. But yeah, it was through board games. It was initially through board games, collaborative board games, though my memory's not as good as Jay's, and I'm still trying to remember what it was, but I don't remember. But yeah, it was with school friends. I must have been in my late teens at the time, something around there. So yeah, that's also a slightly side question that's also a bit of an ice break. And we're going to keep going with the side questions.
With calendars. no calendars questions.
Well, no, the next one's also a side question, unless we got our...
No, that's correct.
Our timings confused. Yeah, so the next question is about our favorite pieces of RPG media, shows, movies, podcasts, etc. And once again, I'm going to let Jay start off with this.
I love Critical Role, like many in the community too, I believe. I started watching 3 years ago. I was just trying to find some inspiration to be a better dungeon master. I discovered Matt Colville before, and he talked about Critical Role and used them as an example in some of his videos. So then I started watching Critical Role and been watching religiously since. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
like Matt Colville and Critical Role.
I have to choose one that's slightly different. It's not technically speaking RPG media, but I think it's what first what piqued my interest about Dungeons and Dragons. And it was back when I was in university, and there was this TV show that I absolutely loved, and I still love to this day. It has to be one of my top TV shows, called Community. Some of you might have heard of it, some of you might not. But there are a few episodes dedicated to Dungeons and Dragons. And while it's, of course, a TV show that's very geeky and very silly in the best possible way for both of those things, I think I'm going to choose that as my favorite, if only because I didn't really know what Dungeons and Dragons was before having seen that. And I think that really kind of made me wonder what D&D was and how D&D worked. And it was the first sort of eye-opener of just like the depth of imagination that goes into it and the depth of possibilities that goes into D&D. So perhaps not like a recurring media or series, but something that I hold quite dear and quite close to my heart when it comes to RPGs. And I think that's all we have on that question, actually.
Yep. I'll show the next one.
And the next one is from Beef Potato and asking what advice we'd give to a new game master who's just starting to build their first world and campaign. It's an endless question, really, because like I think the only thing you can ever say to someone just starting off is start small. Like it's just you have to start small, you have to build it up slowly but surely, you have to create your world slowly but surely. There are no shortcuts, really. Like if you go too big too quickly, you're just going to end up losing yourself in it
or burn out.
Like burn out. Yeah. Start with a few locations, like the starting location, a few NPCs that are around that, their relationships, and yeah, keep it focused on what makes sense for you, for your group, for how you want to see them evolve. Yeah, world building is a very personal journey, but I think starting small is the best advice anyone can ever give, really.
Yeah, and you'll never be ready for the questions of your players. Like, what? And it was a question. Player asked, "How many moons are there in the sky?" And you'd be like, "I didn't prepare for this." And there'll be others like, "What's the name of this river? I didn't prepare for this. What's the name of this hill? Or why is it named that way?" You don't need these answers ready in advance. You can improvise, or you can simply say, you'll have it figured out for next session if it's important for the character or whatever, for the players or whatever. Like there's no rush. Things can stay a mystery in your world to your players until you figure them out.
Yeah. Cool. And I think this brings us to our final question, after which we will do what you guys prefer, which is look at a few sneak peeks of what's coming up for Kanka and discuss a few new features that we've been working on. So our next question is also from Beef Potato, and mentioning that a while back we talked about merchandising, and I'm wondering what the state of that is and what options are being considered, also what the limiting factors are. To be honest, the reaction from you guys as a whole was a bit more mixed than we had hoped for. While some of you were super into the idea of merchandising, and so I think if we were to boil it down to a few sentences, it's something we're still considering. It's something we'll probably still put in place, but it's gone onto the back burner. It's not something we're prioritizing right now. We're still hoping to be able to put that in place at some point, probably early next year. We had initially wanted to do this over the latter part of the year, of this year. But as I say, given the muted reaction, I think we're gonna wait until earlier next year and see how things go. See if there's a bit more. I don't know if hype is the right word, but if there's a bit more attention around it, or if it's something that comes up a bit more. I think that's one of the key points about that. The other thing that we kind of saw while speaking to you guys about it is that some of the items that you're most interested in are not items that are easy for us to manufacture or to have manufactured. I know that the example of dye was brought up a few times, and we love that idea. That's something that we think could really work. I mean, our logo is a 20-sided die, and we really wanted to try and integrate that into a possibility, but sadly, like just making that and making that happen for you guys in a way that's efficient for us and where we can have them out and sent them by mail in a sort of a normal amount of time is just not really something that we could do on such a short notice. So long story short is that we heard that some of you were interested, others were not so much. We will keep working on refining the idea a bit more. What kind of merchandising will, as always, depend on what you guys want most. But I think it's something that we're not going to be putting the emphasis on or focusing on for right now. But expect more news about this, I would say, early next year. I think it's my best guess at this point.
Yeah, another example which was really
I don't.
cool was like a notebook to take notes during your sessions and kind of stuff, and have it pre-prepared, like a section for NPCs that you had to improvise during the session that you have to remember to put into Canker, or locations. Like, have a notebook which mimics a bit Canker structure entity types. That'd be very cool. But again, building that kind of notebook, it's a lot of time we're going to have to invest in designing it, deciding what's good, then finding a provider. This is something which is maybe less easy to put in like a store, but more like a limited drop. Like, say we've 200, we've created 200 of these. Who'd be interested? First go, and we need a certain amount of interest in such a product to make it worthwhile. Because if we end up with 200 notebooks in your living room, none of us will be happy.
Yeah. There's a table behind me where we could put a few of them, but if I can avoid having 200 notebooks there, I'd appreciate it.
So yeah, it's also part of the coming back to promoting Canker, to getting more people interested in Canker, more people passionate about Canker. Then we can start thinking about these cool products like dice, which are or notebooks which require more time to build, which require more ordering, creating them upfront, and then delivering them, then having more of a store, like t-shirts, stickers. That's something which can be printed on demand, and that is way easier to do. But it sounded, from the feedback we got to the community, I'm more interested, rightfully so, more interested in really cool items. And yeah, those just require a bigger number of users to make sense, because we're not going to sell 20 dice for $100 each. That makes no sense.
No, of course not. Of course not. So yeah, stay tuned is the best I can say. Hopefully it'll come soon. But for now, it's probably been put on ice while we probably think of the best way to like implement this and bring this to you guys, and wait for perhaps a bit more interest as well. So yeah, I think that pretty much sums up the questions part of this. So now we just wanted to mention a few things. So I think the way we'll do it is there are two things we wanted to talk about, one of which Jay will be showcasing. So perhaps if we start with the quick / boring stuff, which we can't quite showcase yet, and then Jay can move on to showing you what we've been working on. The first thing I wanted to mention is about our integration with LFGM. This will only take a minute, but basically you guys might be aware we implemented an integration with LFGM for your calendars, for your organization of your sessions with your friends or your players or anyone else who wants to join you. And we haven't had much feedback, whether positive or negative. The feedback has been slightly missing, and I just wanted to sort of make a bit of a call for feedback. If anyone has been using it and has anything to say about it, we'd love to hear your feedback. You can contact either Jay or me, email us, Discord, whatever you want, Flying Pigeon, whatever you think is best. But we'd love to have feedback about what you guys think of LFGM, whether you use it at all, or whether it's just something that's been there and you've not even thought about. So that was the first point we wanted to make. And then the second thing I wanted to discuss was something we mentioned actually briefly with you guys, and it goes to what we sort of temporarily called super boosts. I know this is something that we mentioned the possibility of. Basically, most people only seem to boost the one campaign. The vast majority of people only seem to boost the one campaign, and we wanted to. So yeah, let me start the whole process again. Being an owlbear gives you 3 boosts. Most people only use one of those 3 boosts, and we wanted to have a better way for people to be able to use their boosts if they're not using them anywhere else. And so basically, we mentioned the idea of super boosts that would unlock further features, which would allow people who really sort of tunnel on their one cherished campaign to unlock further bonuses for that specific campaign. We've sort of been working on a few things in the background. Jay will be able to say a few words about exactly what he's been working on. We can't show anything yet, sadly, but I think I always remember the one which is the campaign gallery, which was something that came up a few times in our discussions with our owl bears about some of the stuff that interests you. Jay, I'll let you take over.
Yeah, so the first feature of Superboost would be campaign galleries, where you could upload pictures like in a gallery, like in a standard gallery, and then use those in the text of your entities instead of having to upload them to an entity node or and clog up your entity nodes or upload to a third-party provider. And then the idea is through the text editor, you can then select from your gallery one of those pictures or add a new picture directly to a gallery through that. That's one of the features we want to build. That would be limited to the new text editor summer nodes, because that's just not a feature we'd have available in the old text editor, TinyMCE. Another feature is complete for up to 3 months or something of change logs of an entity. So if you change the name, the type, the parent location, or even the description, that you would have access to the old versions. So if you suddenly remove a whole block of text, that you can still have access to it for a certain amount of time. That would be such a feature. Another one is more entity nodes. Sorry, not entity files. So at the moment, standard campaigns have 3 entity files per entity. Boosted campaigns have 5, and super boosted would have 10. So you could just upload more PDFs, more sounds, more whatever you would need. With the campaign and with the coming back to campaign galleries, there'd be no limit on the number of images. At first, we couldn't think of a limit for a number of images you would upload that way. Just like there's no limit on number of entities in a campaign. And the last one is something which we think would be pretty fun, is like a achievements/stats page for your campaign, where once you hit 50 NPCs created, you have an achievement, or you're close to 200, like create 12 more NPCs and you unlock this achievement or whatever. Less of a feature, more of a like push you to create more for your campaign, to be more creative with ideas. Create 100 families to be and get an achievement, or have 300 NPCs who are dead or have no family as orphans as an achievement. Like, we can make it silly, we can make it fun.
Knowing us, it'll be a lot of silly, of course.
Yes. Like, if you have more than one religion in your campaign, that's a no-no, because there is only one religion, that's Kankapi.
The best religion, of course.
And I think that was it from what I remembered. Yep. Oh yeah, and yes, now I remember for campaign galleries that instead of uploading an image to an entity, that you're able to select an image from the gallery. So for example, if all your ins have the same image, that you don't have to bother re-uploading the same image, you can just select from the gallery, just use this image instead. That's one of the features that we want to build for the gallery.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll keep you guys posted on how that evolves. As I say, it's still a bit of a work in progress right now, but we just felt like it would be a good way for the vast majority of our users to get more value for what they're paying. Because if most of you really just use the one campaign and you have 3 boosts, something is lost there. And so we wanted to enable those users to just have more, essentially, without having to revamp the whole system by removing the number of boosted campaigns or whatnot. So yeah, stay tuned for that. We'll hopefully be able to showcase some of these progresses during our next live QA, but that's something we've got our eye on, at least. And so yeah, now to reward you for your patience, I think Jay is going to be showcasing the latest patch and the mentions as you go, which is something that should be coming out very, very shortly. So Jay, I'll let you take it away and show us how it's done.
Yep, let me just check the layout is good. Yep. So, excuse me. Version 0.46 should come out next week. The QA has been mostly approved by QA. The only things left are bugs I have to fix. Where's my window?
I'm also getting one of the first looks at this, so I'm quite excited as well.
Okay, still there. So the winner of this month's community vote was Mentions As You Go. So let us create a new character. I'm under right campaign, yes. So we shall give this character.
I think there's an issue with the stream.
There is?
Oh, no, it's just, wait. No, my bad, that was my computer.
Okay. As long as I can still hear you, I'm optimistic about the stream still being up. So Salvatos, because I saw his name on the Discord. So let's say this character is related to, and let's start writing a new name. Let's go Guardian. Now Guardian doesn't exist as an entity, so we have the option to create Guardian as a new character. And this will inject a new code which tells you the entity type and the name. So if I want to change Guardian's name to Guardian Leviosa, I can by just typing before the end brackets. Salvatos also possess has, because I can't spell possess, the item of the, let's go, Sun Blade, which is a new item, and I use the underscore to create a space. Let's go new item. Can you see in the window? Yes. Sunblade. And now I can make it look fancy, so I can go sun. Let's make it super fancy. Sun Blade. Yeah. And let's reference this new item Sunblade also here. Sunblade is cursed. I will save. And it has, if I go now this new character called Salvatos, it has now created already Guardian Leviosa as a new character and Sunblade as a new item. And since it was named Sunblade twice with the same spelling, and it's caps, small caps, big caps, it doesn't care. As long as the letters are the same, it will just create a single entity. So we can now directly go and continue editing Sunblade or Guardian Leviosa. That's
pretty sexy.
Part, yeah. That's what's coming out during the week, during the upcoming week. Another small thing is, I think I've activated here, journals can now be nested. So if I go and nested view, I see journal A, which has a subjournal of journal 1. To allow people to create chapters and nest their journals into chapters or story arcs or whatever makes sense for them. Just to be fast at finding what they're searching for without having to tab through, because in my own campaign, if I log in to my account and I go to journals, because journals is where I keep my session logs and do my session prep, I've got 5 pages. So finding the ones I want to work on is it's getting a bit tedious. Those are the two. Oh yeah, it's still missing some text, which QA has told me to fix. I think those are the two main features. You can't see what? No,
I can just. No, it's all good. Sorry, it's just
the delay. Yeah. I think those were the main things from. Let me quickly check in the Trello board if there's anything else I can showcase which is sexy. It's mostly small things. Mentions As You Go was the biggest one. And once that's out, I'll start working on attribute templates for the marketplace.
Yeah, which we're very excited about. As we mentioned earlier, The marketplace is really what we see the marketplace as being something major for Canker and very important to Canker. So hopefully we can get attribute templates out by the end of the month. We're quite hopeful that we can. I say that having not talked to Jay about it, but I'm quite hopeful that he can.
Yeah. The last thing which we've changed, it's a small thing, but will just make people who use attributes enjoy using abilities, better, is I can now add them like tags. So I can go, add all three. Add all three tags, one click, done, bam. So that's another small thing we've added. Yeah, those are the main four free things. The rest is small improvements. Yeah. Like mentions as you go was the biggest one because it's the most complex. It was a fun feature to build. Yeah.
I realize we can't every month come up with something as exciting as Marketplace because I know last month that was the big reveal, but we're working on something for November. Don't worry. Like keep you guys on your toes. 1 out of 2 months it's exciting. 1 out of 2 months is just sexy, and yeah.
Yeah, that's it from my side.
Good, Danny. I'm glad you are. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all we have. I don't know if anyone has any last-minute questions, but other than that, I think we've pretty much covered everything we wanted to cover tonight. Jay, I will let you know if anything comes up in the questions.
I have those two windows open, the YouTube and the Twitch chats.
So when I told you to close everything, you just didn't want to listen.
I closed nearly everything.
I'm messing with you, of course. But
yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. It's been a pleasure as always. We look forward to seeing you guys again in a month. I don't know that Jay and I have yet decided on the specific date, but I know that we mentioned the 15th of November. Mm-hmm. So that is possibly what's going to be happening, to be confirmed, of course. And yeah, we'll do a bit more of a deep dive into a feature which we didn't really do today. There wasn't much when it came to the questions. There wasn't anything really that lent itself to a deep dive. And honestly, given how our video seems to be choppy today, it's probably not the worst thing. Once again, I do want to apologize for the terrible video quality. We'll have this sorted next time. This didn't really pose a problem in our tests.
It wasn't as bad during the tests, and I've deactivated the VPN.
We'll definitely have that sorted out for. Yeah, we'll have that sorted out for next month because it's something that's quite important moving forward, so that we can, that you can see our faces without, like having to blink 15 times just to get sort of a continuous image. So yeah, once again, really sorry about that, but thank you so much for tuning in, and I guess we'll catch you guys in a month.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, and next live stream will be towards the end of the month for 3 years stats review, which will be fun.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, sorry. We should actually. Jay wants to do a deep dive for the stats of what's going on around Kanka. So we will actually have like a dedicated video stream for that. It probably won't be quite as long as this. No. I think we're thinking more like half an hour-ish.
Yeah.
But we'll definitely take half an hour at the end of the month and share with you guys how Kanka has evolved and how we see Kanka still evolving, and what we're doing to make sure that it keeps going in that direction.
Yeah. All right. That's it from us. Take care, everyone, and see you soon.
Yeah. Talk to you guys soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.